Good morning, everyone. Hello. Welcome to April. Uh, Hopefully for you, your weather has been nice, peaceful, and your job has also given you peace. I'm hoping that you're able to ease into the spring season without much trouble. Oh, I guess my cat's had some trouble this spring. My name is Jeremy. Welcome to the Automate It podcast. Thank you to Automox for having me on this again. 4 times the charm. Every month I get to sit here and ramble about the IT industry and my experience. So these last few months, I've intentionally tried to keep these topics a little broad. I like to talk about things that are beneficial to everyone because I think that IT is just people. We are people who come together to take part in this industry. And I like my conversations not to be terribly specific to one platform or to one product. But today, I wanted to take a small digression from that. The month of April here at Automox is about spring cleaning. Today, I specifically want to talk about opportunities to clean up your Automox environment a little bit. Currently, I'm on the professional services team. And as a part of this, we get to provide solutions optimizations, suggestions for anyone to kind of better utilize the product, maybe shine a light on some certain functions or features that anyone might not be particularly well versed in yet. But also as a part of that, we get to take a high level view of anyone's organization or Automox environment, really, and see where changes can be made to make sure that you're getting viable reporting back, to make sure that you're seeing your devices as they should be seen. Like, for example, you're seeing patches being deployed properly. Maybe there's things that can be cleaned up, like disconnected devices. Maybe you have policies failing for reasons that you're failing to catch. I kind of want to see if I can talk about some of these things today. Hopefully I'll sprinkle in some of my own knowledge here. And this is also a little weird for me. It's because, I'm talking to you and I can't really share my screen. We can't really share each other's screen, but these are just some kind of broad topics to kind of help you clean things up a little bit. The year is in full swing now. We're officially in Q2. I don't like using that term because I'm not a fiscal type of person, but we're starting to get to a point where at the start of the year is very busy. A lot of us have to get off the helicopter, just boots running. We're just going full speed. But now that we're April, some of us have a moment to play a little bit of catch up. Maybe your spring break just ended. You're back from the beach. Who knows? All the cook-offs are done. You're ready to kind of make some changes, clean up a little bit, recalibrate, if you will. And that's kind of what my intention is a little bit with this today. So the first thing I always like to bring up is because not only is this helpful to fellow staff at Automox, but this would also kind of do yourself a service, is for your Automox endpoints, you're going to be in a much better position if you remove your disconnected devices. So if you were to sign into Automox, go to the devices tab, and immediately the first thing you're greeted with is a table of all of your devices. They're not sorted in any particular order by like what is connected to the console or what is not connected. However, the console will retain information of your disconnected devices. And this is very common. Like if you have maybe servers that have shut down or devices that have not been turned on in 60 days, for whatever reason, Automox is still holding on to that information in the console. Because of this, you might benefit from your reporting, like your pre-patch reports or anything really, to kind of clean up some of those disconnected devices. So my one thing I was going to suggest, the first thing was, I know that for some, you might have reservations about just going in and deleting devices. I've been on calls with people and I've had email conversations where someone has said to me, "Hey, Jeremy, I don't want to just dive right into deleting devices. For all I know that they're active. Maybe they're just not talking to your product. Maybe they're not communicating to the console. Can we do something first? Can I look at them?" My suggestion is yes. So, or not my suggestion, the fact is yes, but my suggestion is going into the Automox console and go into your device tab. There's a quick filter for disconnected. Now, obviously, you don't want to disconnect a device that's been disconnected for 1 day. Perhaps it just is an instance of someone on PTO. A laptop is closed and it hasn't been opened in 3 days. Now, however, the console will show you disconnected longer than 30 days. If you open up the set of filters on your left, and you can select the option underneath needs attention, there's options for disconnected for 30 plus days. You could check that box and it will immediately show you said device is disconnected for 30 days. And on the top right, next to the columns button, it's underneath the add devices button, there's an option for you to export a CSV list. And the CSV list is extremely helpful because it's going to give you an itemized list of not only their host names, but it's going to give you an itemized list of, is it disconnected? How old is that device? Like, when was it first added into the Automox console? And when is the last time that it communicated to the console? This kind of, and as mentioned, it's in CSV. So as long as we have something like Excel or Sheets or Mac OS numbers, we can sort these ascending or descending, kind of giving you an opportunity to say, okay, I have 100 servers that have been disconnected for 120 days. I could take advantage of removing these. And removing them from the console is quite easy too. This is my first suggestion. Obviously, there is a page limit size to the Automox console, but you can use the checkboxes on the left to select the devices you need. And then right from the actions button, right above it, you can bulk delete these devices from your console. Now, if we had a large instances or many instances of disconnected servers or disconnected laptops, whatever have you, and you wanted to get these removed, our secondary suggestion is using our worklet, which is titled Clean Up Disconnected Devices. The purpose of the worklet is that it is written in PowerShell, and it was written so that by default, you can set it to run as a dry run, meaning that it will not delete your devices right away, but instead of deleting them, it will just output them to your activity log, and you could go through an itemized list of the devices that would have been removed if the worklet was set to be running. Just a little bit of information about the worklet. It uses our API, and if you've never used a worklet before, at the very top of the worklet, because these worklets are created by us here at Automox, many of them written by me, for example, other ones written by other members of the professional services team or other engineers here who wanted to contribute to our worklet catalog. The top of the worklet actually has a comment section filled with important details, but essentially just a giant comment section explaining the purpose of the worklet, if there's any parameters or variables that need to be set in the worklet, those are clearly mentioned there as well. And in this case, for the worklet for cleaning up disconnected devices, that worklet's help section or the comment section is going to inform you. Number one, it uses our API. So an API key is required. Setting up an API key is actually pretty easy. You'll go into the Automox settings. It's those 3 dots in the top right corner. When you click it, you go to secrets and keys. At the bottom of that page, you can make an API key if you've never done one before. After you make the API key, though, on that same page, there's a button to add a secret. The purpose of this is that once you add your API key, you set it as a secret to be used as a variable for any of your other worklets. That API key can be used for other API calls that we have in our documentation, but it is required for that worklet. So once you have the API key generated and you have it saved as a secret, then you can go into our worklet catalog, look up the worklet for clean up disconnected devices. And once there, you'll have to click the create policy button, and that will show you the option to add an input. Those inputs are essentially those secrets. The variable and the content of that variable was passed down when the worklet is called upon. And after that is done, you could, within the actual worklet code now, you would set the user-defined variables. You would set the age limit. So in this case, the worklet defaults to 120 days. You could leave that as normal if you like. And then in the remediation section, there's also a variable for dry run. It's currently set, by default, it's set to true. By default, the worklet would not remove anything, but once you set that to false, it would actually delete those devices older than whatever that variable you set was. In this case, 120 days. Another suggestion I like to make for kind of spring cleaning is taking a look at how some of your policies have been performing. Just as a quick synopsis, I think it's really beneficial to one day after a patch, or even a few days or a few hours after a patch run, going into your activity log, because this will show us individual errors per device of what may be taking place to have policy runs failing. A common cause might be that if your devices, or you have certain devices that are failing to download from our third-party cache, those could likely be, or those will likely be mentioned. If you, for example, just happen to see some errors, that a patch couldn't be applied because the file was less than 50 kilobytes in size, to me, in my experience, that's a good indicator that a download failed, and it couldn't retrieve a package from our third-party cache, which was located at api.automox.com. Something on that device was limiting us to where we couldn't download that package during the policy run. Another very common issue is from the activity log, you'll see that a patch could not be deployed because a certain program was running. If you would ever see that in high capacity, my suggestion would be to look up our documentation for third-party overrides. Obviously, that's something that you may need to look at and make a decision on with your own discretion, but third-party overrides allows you to use a worklet to set a file that's local to your devices, and that local file is read during the patch policy or the patch run for third-party programs. So that way, if a certain title is running, but you need it to be stopped so that it can be patched, you can manually add the program to that worklet so that it's saved to that file. That file is read during the patch run, and then it would be closed if necessary during patching. This is really common for applications like Notepad++. On Mac OS, I see this a lot with Google Chrome, because for Google Chrome, we're upgrading using a DMG file, and that the Google Chrome DMG being open will actually cause the policy run to stop. And this is a really good thing to consider, because in case you're not familiar, how Automox handles our patching is that if you were to patch multiple third-party titles in a single policy run, but only one of them were to fail, then the entire policy run would be considered a failure. And of course, that can, for example, if you have multiple applications that do succeed, but Notepad++ cannot patch because it's running, you might not be getting super accurate results because it was just one program that caused the entire policy run to be a failure. I think checking your activity log and other reports that you have available from Automox would be a really good starting point to just see what type of changes you can make to kind of see a higher success percentage from some of your policy runs. The last thing I was going to call on was also going through your policy results report. So this shows you, we use colors to indicate like green if a patch policy was successful, red if it had failed, gray if it didn't need to be applied. But from the policy results report, you can also click on the runtime of the policy run. When you click on that, it's going to show you an itemized list of devices that patches were applied to during that patch run. And from there, you'll also see, similar to the activity log, you're going to see in the device table the full details or the full standard output of when that patch was applied. Getting a view of these logs is exactly what our team is going to look at to make sure that we can try to determine why something failed to populate or why something failed to download, what patch failed to apply. And using that, we're going to look for trends. Like I said, this is why we see that Notepad++ is something that always kind of causes patch runs to slip up. Issues with the Google Chrome DMG. And not only does this apply for third-party updates, but for Windows updates as well. So if I'm, this is where I'll come in and I'll see, and if I look at a patch run and I go to the policy results report and I see multiple devices failed from a single policy run, but it was the same error. For example, the hex code that I think ends in 022 for Windows Update, and it tells me that the error is something specific to Windows Update. This gives me an opportunity to use our Worklet to reset Windows Update settings, to make sure that no lingering setting from SCCM or a previous GPO that I applied before Automox is coming in and breaking any Windows Update settings. These are just some opportunities to try to clean things up, get a higher success percentage, and also get some more accurate reporting from your policy results. I think I talked way more than I'm used to talking, but I wanted to give some advice, just some things that I think are really beneficial to kind of, for lack of a better term, do some spring cleaning in your environment. I want to thank you for making it this far and sticking around with me. As always, it's a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you. Use this month of April to recalibrate and get yourself organized for the rest of the year ahead of us. Also, this is a reminder to be kind to yourself at work and at home, and I'll see you next time.